Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined now by a longtime friend of mine and of the program, Congressman Ken Calvert. He's from Southern California. He is now chairman of the Subcommittee on Defense of the House Appropriations Committee, important position for serving our nation in keeping its defenses strong. Congressman Calvert, welcome back. How are you?
Good. Good morning, Hugh. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it is great to see you. I would like you to sort of set the table for people who are maybe listening for the first time since we've moved back to the afternoons. What does the Defense Appropriations Committee subcommittee do that should concern them? Because it's really a big deal, and they got to know that.
Right. Well, we pay the bills. The Authorizing Committee, the Defense Authorizing Committee, sets the policy. The Appropriations Committee, we struggle to find the money and to pay the bills for the resources that is needed by the Department of Defense. So that's not just the Department of Defense. That includes the CIA, the National Surveillance Administration, NRO, which is a National Reconnaissance Office, National Geospatial, NSA, all the intelligence agencies and all the services of the United States military is funded through the Appropriations Committee and through my subcommittee.
So how long has it been since we actually had a budget process that made sense for the military, Congressman Ken Calvert?
It's been a number of years. It's been difficult to get back to regular order, per se, as far as getting appropriation bills out individually and passed and done within the fiscal before the fiscal year starts. And so hopefully now that we have both the House, the Senate, and the White House on FY26, we can do that. But as you already know, we have not finished our work on the FY25 bills. And so we have our work to do now. The chairman, myself, we're struggling to get to a top line number with the Senate and to get this completed as soon as possible.
Now, Congressman Ken Calvert, you can explain this better than almost anyone because you've been doing this a while, and so you know the reconciliation process that follows upon the agreement of a budget. And I've been talking about it a lot, and President Trump, when he was President-elect Trump 2 weeks ago, said he favored one big, beautiful bill, but he doesn't really care. And Senator John Thune, Majority Leader of the Republicans, favors two. What's going on, and would you explain to the audience, take as long as you need to explain to them what this budget reconciliation process is and why one bill, two bill, what is that all about?
Well, it's more difficult for us to pass something in the House than it is in the Senate. For the first time in modern history, the Senate has a larger majority percentage-wise than we do in the House. As you know, we have a very, very thin majority, and about to get thinner when Elise leaves the House to go to her new job in New York. And so we've got to pass something here. We have an opportunity to pass something here one time, which is going to be difficult, but is doable. And it's going to include a lot of things, and it's going to take a lot of negotiation, a lot of patience on the part of our leadership to answer concerns from a number of factions in which they're trying to satisfy in order to pack as much into this reconciliation bill as possible. The tax bill, obviously, is to extend the tax, the Trump tax bill, healthcare modifications, obviously SALT, which was important to certain states. That's the state and local tax deduction. Obviously, defense spending has been brought into this now, which is different than past reconciliation bills. We're trying to get additional defense dollars especially for procurement and for necessary items for the United States military. And obviously, I'm not going to say no to that. I'm looking for some additional funds for our Navy. We have a shipbuilding problem. We have a plane problem. We have a satellite problem. We got problems throughout the Department of Defense. In spite of our spending on the mandatory side of the ledger, discretionary spending has been flat and defense spending has been going down. We're, for the first time, pretty much less than 3% of GDP on defense expenditure, which is the lowest since World War II. And and we have
So you're working on the budget part of the defense part of the budget, and one big budget has to be agreed to in one big, beautiful bill, as President Trump puts it. And it's going to have the border stuff, defense stuff, the tax cuts in it, and other cats and dogs like the no tax on tips. Who is in the room doing this, Ken? I mean, who is actually doing the back and forth? That won't pass in the House. This won't pass in the Senate. It's a giant negotiation, isn't it?
Yeah, our chairman of our Ways and Means Committee is our primary focus probably of this. And Jason, obviously, is the primary guy. But obviously, the Speaker, the Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, it's mainly the authorizing committees that are going to, especially the Ways and Means Committee, the Energy and Commerce Committee, that has a lot of the old, programs, which 76% of all outlay is mandatory spending. What reforms that we can legitimately do without harming, obviously, Social Security or Medicare, and that we can bring down this expenditure number that we have, and to have enough savings in it to fix the border and to fix our national security, all at the same time. And that's going to be a big bill. It's going to be a complicated bill, but it's going to be important that we thread the needle here and pass it hopefully before Easter.
So the House is still committed to one big, beautiful bill. Do I hear you correctly, Congressman Calvert?
That's correct. That ship has sailed. We are committed to one bill, and that's the strategy at the moment. So that's what we're going to do, and we're pushing forward
before Easter, and then all of this stuff would happen if the House passes it and the Senate agrees. But obviously, if you send something over to the Senate that isn't going to pass the Senate Republican caucus, there's no point in it, right? So the Senate's involved in this negotiation, too.
Oh, absolutely. There's no daylight between the House and the Senate. We're working very closely with the Senate leadership, John Thune and his leadership team, to put a bill together that we all agree to. It's going to have to pass the House first, and it goes over the Senate, and the Senate passes. It's going to be easier to pass, I hope, in the Senate than it is in the House. So we have no
stand by for a second, Congressman. I'm going to take a quick break, and I want to bring you back so we can put a dot on this I. One big, beautiful bill. I'm Hugh Hewitt with Ken Calvert, who represents the Inland Empire in California. He's chairman of the subcommittee on defense appropriations. He's a big player in this one big, beautiful bill budget that he said will be done by Easter. So, Congressman, let's zero in on defense, which is what I really wanted to talk to you about. Because I had on Susan Collins yesterday, we talked about shipbuilding. What is your must-have in the one big, beautiful bill? What does the defense subcommittee tell the chairman of the Approps Committee that they got to get from the Ways and Means Committee and the Speaker in the one big, beautiful bill?
Well, obviously, putting the defense aside for a second, we want to extend the Trump tax cuts, or we'll have the biggest tax increase in history. So we don't want that to happen, and so we need to get the base appropriation bills done by March 15th for FY25. Saying all that, reconciliation, we want to have a defense portion of that. Roger Wicker and Mike Rogers have been working on the authorizing side. We're working with them to make sure that we coordinate that where we can appropriate those funds. And they're looking at a substantial number to overlay our defense appropriation bill where we can put needed items, procurement items in that, which would include, obviously, ships. It would include, our jet fighter capability. It would include rearming our ordnance with some of these arms we've been using in Ukraine and Israel and elsewhere. Our inventory levels are less than what they should be, so we need to rebuild that. And we need to rebuild our national security, and that's a whole number of things: satellites, missiles, a long list. And so it's a lot of money, and we hope to spread that out over a 4-year period in this reconciliation period where we can overlay that with the existing appropriation bills.
So ships, submarines, submersibles, cyber, and satellites, and I'll add in the B-21. That's a big number, and I really don't mind spending it because it's essential to the United. Even if it's a debt, we're at what, 34 trillion. Even if we go to 36 trillion, do you anticipate that the budget will increase the national debt significantly so that we can rebuild our defenses and put the tax cuts back and expand them?
Well, obviously, the theory behind the reconciliation also is to save money and to save money in some of the mandatory programs and bring down the expenditure, long-term expenditure number as far as the growth in government, and to grow the economy, because that's an important part of this, is to grow the economy, say at 3-4%, and to grow the government at say 2.5%, and that delta over time will bring down the deficit, and at the same time rebuild our defense and rebuild our country. And that's what this reconciliation bill is all about. It's a win-win deal all the way around. And so, yes, I'm hopeful we can get this thing done.
Congressman Ken Calvert, we'll keep checking in with you because you're the go-to guy. You know what's going on. Don't go anywhere, America.